Remember him! One-handed catch! Oh, he's got it!
Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. We are talking a little Woody Johnson finally speaking to the media. He's at the NFL Honors. We got a few tweets scrolling on the screen, so I want to get your thoughts about it. Figure we'll do maybe a little half-hour stream here late at night. Didn't feel like making a whole edited video for all the comments, but I want to go through them a little bit by a little bit. So first off, this is all coming from Brian Costello. He put out a few tweets on the comments that Woody Johnson said. Woody Johnson at the NFL Owners said, "We need a backup quarterback. We didn't have one last year." Jet fans were arguing going into the season last year. We didn't have a backup quarterback. Zach Wilson was not an adequate backup quarterback for the likes of Aaron Rodgers. Now, to that, I will say we all knew that going into it. Now, myself personally, I was okay rolling with Zach Wilson as our backup quarterback because, like most of you, I did not think Aaron Rodgers would go down for the season. He's played like every game for the entirety of his career. They rolled the dice on him being healthy. I fully believe if we had signed Derek Carr and the same thing would have happened, they wouldn't have had a backup as well because it's the same idea. He's played every game throughout his career, or most of them. So you just don't expect it to happen. Not that you can't plan for the worst, but they went all in on a Super Bowl last year, and it was all hinged on Aaron Rodgers. Now, we could have seen Aaron Rodgers potentially return at the end of the year had we had the Achilles heel and we were still in the fight. Then Rodgers would have come back. Then the backup quarterback really, really would have mattered. That's what kind of stings about last year. Now, outside of him getting hurt 4 plays into week 1, if this had happened, let's say week 5, week 6, where it was just not a shot, I stand by what I said in the offseason heading into the season. If Rodgers goes down for any meaningful amount of time, we're not going anywhere. And it ultimately ended up working out that way, but like this was the one year that was kind of that weird flukiness of like miracle Achilles coming back, where it could have been a potential situation. Other teams wound up losing. The rest of the league has backup quarterbacks that did well. But you know what happened? When we got to the final 4 games of the season, didn't matter who the backup quarterbacks were because they were all starters playing at that point in the season. So I don't know. Look, you got to get a backup quarterback in here. It sounds like the Jets will absolutely do just that. I'm hoping they go after Jacoby Brissett. I'm hoping, it's a good tier quarterback that you could rely on for a game or two. But again, I'll say it, if you wind up rolling with Aaron Rodgers and he gets hurt for any meaningful amount of time, I think we're probably up Schitt's Creek either way. I think Super Bowl just kind of goes out the window once Rodgers is officially out for like a season or something like that. Now, as far as a third string quarterback or something along those lines, do I think they'll draft a quarterback? One, I don't think they're taking a quarterback early, if at all. I'm not sure they're going to take a quarterback at all. I'm not even sure they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Remember, last year, they only carried 2 quarterbacks because, like I said, if you have to go to your backup, you're hoping that this backup can just hand the ball off to Breece Hall and throw the ball to Garrett Wilson, and that's like all you're hoping to do. I don't know if the Jets are going to actually use a roster spot on a backup, like a third string quarterback. What does it mean for Zach in terms of these comments? Doesn't look good. And I would imagine based on these comments, whatever JetBlue theories were out there about Woody Johnson and Zach Wilson and why he was drafted, just throw them right out the window because you don't piss off your number 2 sponsor in JetBlue by saying you didn't have a backup quarterback last year if you were actually in bed with JetBlue and made that pick because of that. I always thought that was kind of a goofy conspiracy theory anyway, but not great. Not great. As far as Zach, I could see him getting released. I don't think we're necessarily... I think Douglas is obviously going to try and trade. If we can get anything for Zach Wilson, they will do that. But based on Woody's comments, I don't know how you could possibly have any other outcome other than Zach not being on the team. So if there's no trade partner, Zach's getting released. 100%. We'll go through all these tweets in order. I'll kind of break down my thoughts on each one. Then we'll hop into the comment questions over there, and I want to hear from you guys what you guys think of all this stuff going on. The next one, Woody Johnson on Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. The discussions we've had the last couple of months, They've seen me about as mad as I can be. I would hope so. I would hope this wasn't okay just behind the scenes. This is not something that should be okay behind the scenes. You need to be able to win. This was unacceptable. Multiple years in a row of a losing streak to end the season. Now, obviously, you have the Patriots win, you have the Commanders win, so it wasn't quite a crazy losing streak, but it was damn near close. It was damn near close. We tried as hard as we could to lose that Commanders game. And it would have been a real rough go of it. So yeah, I'm glad Woody's pissed. He should be holding people accountable right now. And obviously that's not what we've kind of seen so far. The next one, Woody Johnson says, "This is it. We have to produce this year." Really, like, this is the year we had to produce? I mean, I guess it's nice to say it. He's not a playoff mandate guy, and he does say that too. I'm not a playoff mandate guy, but we have to do a lot better than 7 games. So as far as that goes, yeah, look, we all know it's playoffs or bust, and it's probably more than playoffs or bust. You have to look good doing it. You can't just make the playoffs and get bounced first game of the playoffs. Can't have that happen. Got to be able to at least win a game. Got to at least make it look good throughout the season. This cannot be like a stagnant offense. And it seems like, based on the moves that were made and the conversations that you kind of hear leaking out, they fully believe, like 95% of their problems are going to be fixed based on Aaron Rodgers coming back. And that's where I kind of hope all this ends up going, because we're putting a lot of faith in this guy for 2 years. I'm not going to lie. I'm not as warm and fuzzy about Aaron Rodgers going into this season purely because it's another year removed and it's coming off a major injury. Like that, like, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot to be, like, there's a doom and gloom part of me that just wants to, like, cry and curl up in a ball somewhere and just hope everything goes right. Put everyone in bubble wrap and let's just get them healthy for the season. I don't know. Got to make the playoffs, though. Got to make the playoffs. He goes on to say, Woody Johnson on discussions with the Giants on putting grass down at MetLife. "We've discussed it at least once a week," Johnson said. "It is a challenge with how many events there are at the stadium and making sure the grass would be good late in the season." Oh, I'm sorry. Does the billionaire not have enough fucking money to change out the field? Guess what? Denver swapped out their field twice in 1 year. So don't give me that bullshit. You want to worry about the grass? Fucking swap it out more than once. Align your bye weeks. Give it 2 weeks to grow. Whatever. I don't know what you got to do. Whatever you got to do. Billionaires can figure out how to do it. Put a damn man on the moon. We can figure out how to put fucking grass on MetLife when other stadiums around the world have figured out how to put grass on their stadiums. I'm not buying that. I'm sick of that. Woody Johnson on what it was like seeing Aaron Rodgers get hurt. What does it feel like having your arm chopped off? That was like the most tame way to say that. I would have probably gone with a different body part. But man, I can tell you, when I was sitting in the stands, I watched Rodgers go down, I didn't even know he was hurt at first. And then nothing happened. And then I heard the whistle go. And they didn't show the replay the way that you guys saw it online and on TV. We're sitting in the stands. My head just goes into my hands. And I say, you've got to be kidding me. This is so... We had goddamn Vinny Testaverde do the coin flip, and fucking 20 years to the day or whatever it was, Vinny Testaverde popped his Achilles on opening day. That's how you get Ryan all sorts of fired up on a night. Well, that's okay. We're talking a little. Woody Johnson didn't have a backup quarterback last year. I want to hear from you guys. Drop your comments in the chat. What is up, Dakota? Dakota says, Justin Fields to Vegas Raiders soon and Russell Wilson to the Atlanta Falcons soon. You probably saw That's Good Sports video, because I saw that trending on there. I do think Justin Fields to the Raiders makes sense. I do think Russell Wilson to the Raiders would also make sense if Russell wants to stick it to Denver because he can side for the league minimum. Alternatively, you saw our old wide receiver coach, Zach Azani, go to Pittsburgh. Maybe Russell wants to go to Pittsburgh because Cortland Sutton maybe wants to go and follow him as well. They had a good year this past year. But yeah, I could totally see Fields in Vegas and Russ in Atlanta. Both teams, one team developing, the other team ready to win. I'm curious to see how Devontae Adams would feel about Justin Fields in Vegas, though. What's up, Joe S? Nice to have you in here. Matthias says, wake up, Woody. Tyree says, no shit, Sherlock. We didn't have a backup quarterback last year. Nick says, the light bulb finally goes off. Hey, you know what? Sometimes there's a little bit of lag. Like you hit your light switch. If you got one of those LED light switches, sometimes it doesn't quite click as fast. Just takes a minute. It's all right. We're all on different speeds. Dakota says, Matthias, I'm on 3 different jet streams right now. Yeah, I think myself, Green Bean, and Asmin are all going at this point. Joe S says, let's face it, when Rodgers went down, the Jets organization gave up. That's a loser's mentality. Yeah, 100%. We heard 7 wins was the benchmark. Like, yeah, you didn't have a backup quarterback when you went into the season. Rodgers goes down, and you decided, well, since we still don't have a backup quarterback, we're just going to punt on the season. And then we're going to ask our fans to pay their season tickets months earlier than we normally do, after we locked the new season ticket holders into 2 years of season tickets. And then on top of that, like the whole not taking the insurance thing out on Rodgers' contract, you lost $20 million you could have gotten back. There was a whole lot of money issues in this beginning part of the season, if I had to guess. Johnny G says, what about the line and play calling? He's giving them a pass. No, I don't think so. I think it's just tough to rag on Nathaniel Hackett when Aaron Rodgers has your balls in a vice grip, and you know they're both coming back next year. So like you can kind of throw a little bit of shade at Zach, because Zach's ass is not going to be around here, and obviously a GM and head coach have to win. So I think that's really all we're talking about here. Jordan says they really do Zach wrong. Crazy. I mean, they're certainly not helping their trade value. I'll say that much. This very much feels like a situation where we're planning to just release Zach. Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm Douglas, I'm like steaming, trying to like figure out, I'm working the phones, trying to figure out all these different ways I can get, picks back for Zach Wilson. And then your owner goes on TV and says, yeah, we didn't have a backup quarterback last year. So he's not even good enough to be your backup after taking him number 2 overall. Shit pisses me off. Lindels says, can we stop with Zach? He destroyed the team. Look, I get it, but we're still trying to trade him. That's what we're trying to do. I don't care what he did or did not do. Joe S says, how is he pissed when he didn't give a playoff mandate? I think it's just good not to give playoff mandates, because if you give a playoff mandate, you paint yourself into a corner. You always want to have a way out. So I don't advise playoff mandates ever. I mean, this year, if your back's against the wall, it's like, hey, you got to make the playoffs or you're out. But I don't want a situation where they make the playoffs and we look like dog shit, and then it's like, okay, we're going to keep them around just because we made the playoffs. We backed into it. No, you got to look good this year. Bob wants Bill Belichick. You're out of your mind. He's not coming here. Bill didn't come to the Jets once he found out Woody was buying the team, so I don't think that's going to happen. Jerome says, sell the team, Woody, sell the team. This is the best investment you could possibly have. I don't know what he bought the team for as far as price goes, but as far as like the Dallas Cowboys when it was purchased back in the early 90s, I think, by Jerry Jones, his value went from like, what was it, $200 million to like $5-6 billion. Name me an investment that does that. That's crazy. Joe S says, worst stadium in all football? Yep, 100%. Tim, does Woody realize his comments kill Zach's already poor trade value? Shake my fucking head. I completely agree. He completely undermined any sort of shot. And this was sort of the other, like, this time last year was when he said, the Jets are going to go after the best quarterback on the market. And now that's not necessarily anything game-changing, because we wanted him to go after the best quarterback on the market. You're not tipping your hand, but saying you didn't have a backup quarterback very clearly hurts the leverage, if you had any, in some kind of negotiations, and it completely kneecaps you. I don't like this. Nico Impact says, Woody's the worst owner. He needs to sell the team to someone who's not a meddling brat. He's a low intelligence heir who's clueless. I think he definitely wants to win. I'm not going to say Woody doesn't want to win. I think he just also loves the attention. He's seen multiple Super Bowls from his roommates in MetLife Stadium. They've built the ugliest stadium in all of professional sports, and they paid for it out of their pocket. Taxpayers didn't pay anything. So he's got to be a little salty at that everyone's making fun of his big old playpen that he spent. But as far as like winning, look, I think he wants to win. I think there are worse owners. But when I see dysfunction, and I'm talking like, I mean, we got 50 years of dysfunction. That's not all on Woody, but it does rot from the top. So Woody's got to take accountability for this as much as Douglas and Salad do. Joe S says, Woody has no clue what's going on. I mean, he seems to have like a pretty decent idea, I think. Kev says, people forget Woody announced Adam Gase's job secure before the season ended, just like he did with Saleh and Hackett. Woody hasn't changed from being tone deaf. Well, Adam Gase's job, when he announced it, that had to be the first year, if I had to guess, because the second year it was very clear Adam Gase was getting canned. Zachary comes in. Is there any way we keep JD but fire Saleh? Don't want it, but is there a way? No, I don't think so. I think they're all tied by the hip at this point. I don't think you saddle a new head coach and then if you have to get rid of the GM and you keep the head coach, now you get a new GM. Does he like the current coach that you had? I don't like that. I think you got to pull the plug on everyone, but I do like Douglas. Like, I think Douglas isn't necessarily a bad GM. I think he hit a little bit of bad luck and some bad timing, but I'm hoping they turn it around. I don't really want to switch regimes, but there's going to be a lot of good coaches next year. So it's something I think people are going to heavily look at. Patrick wants to change the coaching staff. At this point, I don't want to do it. I think it would be a bad look at this point. Not even just a bad look, but like, who are you attracting at this point? You gotta fire everyone. It's got to be Douglas and everything. And Douglas is already doing like his whole scouting department. They've already lost 2 people, number 2 and number 3 in the scouting department. I don't think you chop off the head right now. Go through the draft, go through this season, just reset it at the end of the year. Tyrone says, what's your thoughts on where Zach will go? I think he's going to the Vikings. It'll be, that Kyle Shanahan, McVay-esque system, West Coast system that he's got a little bit of knowledge in. I could see him going, even if Cousins goes back to Minnesota and him sitting behind Cousins for a year or two. Maybe that's something they do. I don't know. There's a few different options. Like, I wouldn't rule out San Francisco. I could see Kyle Shanahan being excited to work with this little mold of clay or block of clay. I don't know. It's going to be hard to trade him, though, I think. Bob says, would he please sell the team to that owner that will bring in a competent coaching staff? I would love to see all the teams just owned by their cities. Like, do what the Packers do. The Packers seem to have great success, and they don't have an owner. So I don't think we need an owner. I would very much be okay with keeping it as a panel of people or something along those lines. Matthias says, Zach is going to walk with his loudmouth owner. Zach is going to walk with this loudmouth owner. Well, yeah, Zach's definitely gone. Zach's not coming back. You don't have this conversation if you're planning on keeping Zach here. Frank says, Woody owns the team. He should have told Douglas to sign a decent quarterback. From my understanding, that Woody said, this is it. This is what we have spent. We are tapped out financially, both from a contractual standpoint and from a draft asset standpoint. You're not going out and spending additional assets after we spent the number 2 pick on Zach Wilson. We spent 2 second-round picks and a bunch of money on Aaron Rodgers. You made your bed, sleep in it. That's basically what was said. So I don't think he was interested in signing a backup quarterback. Blitz Crew says if Woody was about winning, he would be lighting a fire under these guys' asses. I think he would, but I don't think. I mean, look, this is it, right? Like, he's clearly been mad towards the end of the season. He said as much in these interviews or tweets or whatever that are coming out. I think, man, it's such a delicate balance. I don't like going into a lame duck season with a GM and head coach because I think it doesn't attract free agents. You're attracting guys that want to be overpaid, which I guess everyone wants to be overpaid, but you're targeting more of like the same old jetsiness of it all. Man, I don't know. I don't like where we're going. Joe S seems to agree. Jets are a mess. Tim, exactly. Woody should shut the fuck up. This kills Zach's trade value. Yes, it does. It absolutely kills his trade value. Frank, Woody is 75. He needs to retire. Apparently, 75 isn't old enough to retire anymore. You'd like to see people ride off into the sunset at like 65. Blitz Crew says, will they wait until 2026 World Cup until they change the grass? So they will not. I guarantee what's going to happen is they're going to change the grass for the World Cup and they'll put the fucking turf right back in. They're not going to keep it as just grass. No shot. No shot. It's far too financially beneficial to them from a maintenance standpoint and from like just a logistics standpoint and just a cost standpoint of keeping the grass, up and running. I don't think, my gut feeling is they will not actually convert to grass full time. I think they're going to wait. If it didn't happen with your $100 million quarterback, it's not going to happen. Matthias, how about we forget new field turf, get a new stadium? Yeah. Just build our own stadium. We'll start the fund. Every dollar that comes in for a super chat, we're building the $1 billion playpen. It's going to happen at some point. We'll do it. We got it, boys. Tim says, when is Woody going to realize we didn't have an offensive line? Well, that's the thing. Like, we started with one. That was our whole starting lineup, right? We had Brown at left tackle. We had Becton at right tackle. You had AVT in there. You had Tomlinson in there. And you had McGovern at center. That was our starting offensive line. And then we wound up losing people. And, if you want to argue, should Becton have been in there at all? He was the worst tackle in all of football with penalties and sacks given up. Dwayne Brown, 38 years old, 39 years old, probably shouldn't be in there protecting a 40-year-old quarterback. Yeah, it ain't for a lack of trying, but man, it's really sucked. Joe S. says, Woody and Biden should be in nursing homes. Yeah, look, I just think once you're over 65, you should probably not be relied upon too heavily, I guess. Boys and girls, if you want to drop your comments in the live chat, feel free to drop them in there. I will go over all this again. We'll talk about these tweets. Now that we got some more people in here, the comments that were made, you'll see them clicking through right here, or they might be a little out of context. But we need a backup quarterback. We didn't have one last year. Clearly throwing shade at Zach. Woody Johnson on Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. The discussions we've had the last couple months, they've seen me mad as can be. You're damn right, they better have. Woody Johnson says, this is it. We have to produce this year. I'm not a playoff mandate guy, but we'd have to do a lot better than 7 games. And then talking on the MetLife turf, they've discussed it at least once a week. It is a challenge with how many events there are at the stadium and making sure the grass would be good late in the season. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's more or less valuable to have your $100 million quarterback or whatever he's worth out on the field, selling tickets, selling merchandise, all the games, everything that goes into it? Or do you think it's worth maybe shelling out a little bit more for the grass? Get the fucking grass. And then as far as what it was like when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, what does it feel like to have your arm chopped off? That was the response that Woody Johnson gave when asked what it was like losing one Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, it felt a lot worse. And I would probably use a different appendage than what he used there. Let's see. Bald God, Woody is trash. We should put, you know what? I'd make a poll question, but it's telling me I'm not a subscriber of my own channel right now. It says only subscribers can enter the chat. So apparently I can't type in my own chat right now. That's stupid. Nico Impact says only one worse owner, Tepper. We're the second worst. Yeah, I guess now that Snyder's gone, I don't know enough about the other owners, but it does feel like we've been spinning our tires for a bit. So I'll say that. Joe S says Woody needs to go to London. I would put $100 right now that the Jets will have a London game next year. We have two games, one against Minnesota, one against Jacksonville. Both of those teams have away games in London. I would put $100 that the Jets will be in London versus one of those teams next year. Trevor says, why haven't we dumped the O-line coach yet? I have no idea. It makes no damn sense to me. I think it should have been done, and I think it's going to be a detriment trying to get good offensive linemen here because of it. I would love to get Vrabel next year. I'm in that same boat. I'd love to see who else is available at that point in time. Maybe Ben Johnson becomes available, and he's someone that you can, throw the bag at. I do like the idea of going with a veteran head coach. Maybe Mike Tomlin's contract expires and he becomes available. I know players love to play for him. That would be pretty cool. Charles asking, is this call-in show? No, Charles, you can hang up. I see you behind the scenes. It's all right. No, I'm not going to do call-ins. I'm only going to do this for like a half hour or so. I'm going to hop off and I'm going to go watch something, I think. Kev says, Woody won't even change the turf, even though his players want grass. Again, Woody is tone deaf. Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson has spoken out against it. Aaron Rodgers, to some degree, has spoken out against it. Bakhtiari, who's going to be our left tackle this year, most likely, has spoken out avidly against turf. It's terrible. Zachary says, all the Jet YouTubers could run the team better than Woody can. Nah, look, I have my fair share of busts in there. So, as much as I'd love to say I could run it better, it's hard to run it worse, right? Like, we've been the worst team for the last 5 years. I feel like that octopus that was picking the World Cup winning teams a few years ago could probably do it at a better clip. Jerome says, I retire. Frank says, all Woody cares about is signing Rodgers so he can raise ticket prices. Yeah, that was, I mean, I just saw a tweet on his own Instagram that was, or on his own Twitter that was like, oh, retweet this if you want to win a signed Aaron Rodgers helmet. It's like, man, he's just, Husin, Mims or Guyton. So my understanding is Guyton has awesome measurables. Might be second round pick. Mims feels like he's going to be in the 20s, at least when I was doing my initial analysis on him. I guess, pro days, combine, all that could shift things. There's just not a lot of tape on Mims. And I haven't done a crazy ton of research on Guyton other than like the Senior Bowl stuff. So I have to look into him a little bit more. But I liked what we saw from Mims. He played in the toughest conference. I don't know. I'm good with either one. Anything that they think could fix the offensive line, sign Ryan up for that. Kev says, as soon as Aaron Rodgers said they were going to wing it with our O-line before the season started, I knew the Jets were in trouble. Yeah, that's not good. Tony. What's up, Tony? That is Jeremy's brother, if I'm not mistaken. The Jets are an absolute shut show. If anyone thinks they are competing for a Super Bowl, they're absolutely delusional. I'm delusional. Get out of my fantasies, Tony. Joe S. says, unfortunately, Saleh is a terrible head coach. I'll be honest, it's hard to separate Saleh from Zach right now. I hope we win. I really hope we win. Cuca Lake says, Saleh excuses, no accountability. JD barely taken any accountability. And now Woody blaming quarterback issues when the Josina Anderson reports that Woody didn't want to spend any more cash. Yeah, look, backup quarterback, it's tough, right? Like, do you believe that Aaron Rodgers in his current state could win you a Super Bowl? Because that's what we're talking about. If he's coming back, it's because you think you have a shot at a Super Bowl. If you think the backup quarterback could have gotten you to a point where Rodgers could have started at the end of the season and he could have led you to a Super Bowl, then yeah, big issue. But look, Woody not bringing in a backup quarterback feels to me very clearly that it was because they did not have the funds that they wanted to spend. Dakota says Elijah Moore is the wide receiver version of Jamal Adams. Oh, yes, he is. Robert says Woody paid about $650 million for the Jets about 25 years ago. Now the franchise is worth $6 billion. Yeah, why would he sell? That's the thing. Like, if you own an NFL franchise, that's the best thing you could do. Just collect money each year. You don't have to do anything. Clearly, you don't have to do anything. The Jets haven't done anything in the entire time that Woody's had the team. Not the entire time. That's a lie. 2 championship games. Kev says, I guarantee some players don't come because of the Jets' shitty turf. Bakhtiari won't come because of the turf. That might be a good thing. Yeah, I've seen people say that. I feel like if Rodgers asked him to come, he would. Maybe I'm wrong. I would like to believe the Jets will go after someone a little healthier, a little younger. Jonah Williams is higher on my list, I think, than probably most. He's presents like a baseline, like, okay tackle, but can play both sides. I do like Tyron Smith. I do like David Bakhtiari more than most because I don't think his injury, it sounds like his injury has been fixed from this last knee scope that he had, or knee injury. Wimmy comes in, JETS. Drop some JETS in the chat, boys and girls that are members. I love seeing those in there. Robert says, sell the team. Joe S says, Kev, that would be a good thing, talking about the turf and Bakhtiari not coming. Cuca Lake says, Woody can't just change the turf. He needs Mars to agree since they share the stadium. Yeah, it's probably a two-person thing. Who knows? Maybe Woody's like pounding the door down for like, hey, we got to change the turf right now. I would like to think the billionaires could get together and figure out a way to grow fucking grass on their stadium. Steven says, when Woody talks, I don't have fun. Yeah, that's about it. Woody should have went with his own stadium. Well, we got shut down. Fucking Dolan with the Rangers and Knicks ran Cablevision ads to make sure a stadium was not built in New York. We wound up losing it by 1 vote. Cuca Lake, he did, and it was voted down. Bingo. Elijah Moore is a below-average wide receiver. Yeah, but it would have been nice to have him here with Rodgers. It sucked losing him for what we got. But, alas, it is what it is. Only 1 Mims per lifetime, so he doesn't want to Marius Mims, the tackle from Georgia. Mitt Flair says, ooh, What's up, Mitt? Wimmy says, I still expect coaching changes. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Saleh just hired 2 brand new coaches. They're not firing the coach. I've heard this rumor multiple times where it's like, there's a 50% chance that Robert Saleh could still be fired. Like, dude, it's not happening. It's not happening. He just hired 2 coaches. They're not firing Robert Saleh right now. It's just not going to happen. Cube Lake, Tony, go eat another dinner with Egghead. We love Egghead. Jeremy. Zachary says, if Woody can't spend more cash, just sell the team. Ooh, yeah. When you want to like piss off a billionaire, you say, oh, I'm sorry. Do you not have enough pennies? Do you need to borrow some money? That was always like, that's always a shot to the gut. Like someone's complaining about something like, hey, Woody, come aside. Do you have some problems? Do you need a little bit? Can I write you a little bit of a check? It's like, oh, my ego. Tim says, agreed, Kayuka. Shake my head, no accountability. And then Gase. Where is it? Gase is a great coach, says Dakota. He's coaching where football is going. Tim says, I don't want to go near Bakhtiari with a 10-foot pole unless it's for the vet minimum. I could see him being like a $5 million signing, but like for every game he plays, he gets like $1 million or something, or maybe it's like a $0, like vet min signing, but like, hey, every game that you're active and healthy, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million. Guess what? You play the entire season, you get $20 million because we won the Super Bowl, or at least played in the Super Bowl. That's how I would structure a Bakhtiari contract. Jets won't be relevant again until the year 2030. God, if I have to make this YouTube channel last until 2030 without a winning season, I'm going to be so sad. I've not covered a winning team yet. Trevor T, thank you for the JETS. Love seeing it in there. TN Dick Dog. The Jets really screwed themselves starting around 2011 when they got rid of players like Kotry and Braylon to bring in punks like Plexico and Mason. They did this to themselves. I hated losing Braylon Edwards. We retained Santonio Holmes, and at the time I remember saying Braylon Edwards is the one I want to keep. And Braylon, look, he didn't really do much once he left the Jets, and Santonio's coming off an MVP Super Bowl performance with the Steelers against the Cardinals, so there was like that whole trade and everything. I definitely, you saw the change. You saw the change when you started getting rid of those guys. And I would date it back a little bit further. I would say 2016. I think was 2016 the last time we had Brick and Mangold. I think Brick maybe retired 2016 and Mangold might have been 2017. But we've been looking for a fucking center and a left tackle basically since then until this year. Lima Bean, you out there, brother? I haven't seen him in the chat. I haven't seen Lima Bean. Man, I touched my eye and now all of a sudden I can't stop rubbing it. All right. What else we got? Kev says, honestly, wasn't it creepy seeing Woody with the sauce necklace chain game 1? Look, it wasn't the sauce necklace that I thought was weird. Or no, it wasn't even like the Woody necklace that I thought was weird. It was like when he met Sauce for the first time and he was like, oh, what's in the bottle? And he's like, sauce. You can't tell. It's secret sauce or whatever. I don't know. 75-year-old owners of football teams are cringy. They're all fucking weird. They're all odd ducks. That's all right. All right, boys and girls, that was about a half hour here. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of Woody Johnson's comments from the owners meeting? Let me know. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. As always, go Jets.